Roblox Racing, one of the very basic forms of utilizing the game to create a fun and competitive scene. It's simple. You press 4 keys, you steer the car. The more precise you hit your marks, the faster you are. The more walls you hit, the slower you are. What if I told you there was one group of guys who were willing to take this basic form of competition to a new level? This is the NASCAR Lowe's Cup Series. You may be wondering, what the hell is all of this? This is the NASCAR Lowe's Cup Series, hosted by PSky012 and Zack C5. The series boomed throughout a time of opportunity. The group itself reached over 100,000 members. It was looking to gain more, but suddenly, like a nuclear bomb, everything just, honestly, I really don't know what happened, but in my eyes, everything just went to hell. Ever since that fateful day, the scene of NASCAR Roblox Racing changed forever. Nothing was ever the same after the #1 Roblox Racing group broke apart so drastically. What was once the group to look up to was now a distant memory of the past. But before we dive deep into the controversy behind the NASCAR Lowe's Cup Series, let's start off from the beginning. An ambitious man at PSky012 would found the NASCAR Lowe's Cup Series, a NASCAR-styled Roblox Racing League. It would be one of the first. Though, it didn't go as planned once started. The first race it hosted, nobody even showed up to. I can imagine the disappointment from PSky himself. Speaking of, I decided to interview him for a couple of questions. Alright, let's go ahead and get this interview started off. So, when you first founded the NASCAR Lowe's Cup Series, what was your thought process?
So Lowe's was founded in 2010, about 2 to 3 weeks into my brand new PSky012 account. Why it was all caps, I don't know. Maybe my caps lock was on or something. I was 10 at the time. I didn't know. I didn't even know what a desktop computer was. But anyways, I joined into this NASCAR game I saw on the front page. It was all free model, the typical free model Bristol type deal. It has like the haulers and the pit boxes and the garage with the, if you ever played the Wii game, NASCAR kart racing, yeah, it was like those type of cars, and it had no roof on it. But I drove around for like 5 to 10 laps and I got bored. I just got bored, and I decided to like try to get drivers in the game together to host a couple races. I wanted to like just count them down, have them go, drive around the track, do a couple laps, declare a winner, and it was all fun. Obviously it went poorly because people weren't listening. I didn't have any admin control whatsoever, but it was still fun. And I met this guy named WWE Alvin, and he told me about possibly creating a racing group. This guy was down to earth, funny, really nice guy. So I was like, okay, yeah, and we became good friends. I stayed in that game for like hours. And we eventually moved on to, I created a empty base plate, and I inserted a bunch of free model office buildings, put on a couple of NASCAR decals, and really just try to advertise Lowe's that way. And that's how we like ended up creating Lowe's. We got like maybe a couple guys to join the server, and then I realized, okay, I have to do something else. So I started advertising on the site. But it was all like, just out of the excitement, pure joy, excitement of doing it. I know WWE Alvin saw potential in me, and we created the NASCAR Lowe's Cup Series right then and there, and it just took off. There was no thought process. It was all pure excitement, passion, and really just felt right.
When did you know that deep inside that this group was going to be big?
Oh man, I think it really got big when I realized when it got big when I took the top spot. Lowe's took the top spot out of all the NASCAR groups. I mean, even out of the fan groups. I remember there was like this NASCAR fan group. There was Drive to End Hunger, which was around like the 300s at the time. And then there was the DeWalt Cup Series, which was pretty far up there too. Now there was other series too, like karting and other like IndyCar type deal series that I have not yet passed. But when we reached around 400 to 500 members, it really took off, and I really was like excited about the whole entire thing. I mean, I started expanding the divisions. We only had 2 divisions at the time. The next season I added 3, and then the season after that we added 4, 5, and 6. I mean, we had as many divisions as I could. I really think that, it got big when I started joining games. Like, I'm not even talking just NASCAR, like, typical games. I'm talking, like, just regular games on the front page. And people were like, Peace Guy 012, you're the guy that owns the Lowe's Cup Series. Now, I just joined in, and they knew me. That's when I knew, like, this was big. This was becoming something more than just like a regular group with like a couple friends. This was more than just, maybe like 100 fans or like 20 drivers. This was a legacy. This was a dynasty. And it just exponentially grew after that. And I just tried my best, especially the final season, to get as many drivers in as possible. That's why I added those divisions. I wanted everyone to get a chance to race what was at the time to be the final season of Lowe's.
Through NASCAR Lowe's Cup Series, who are some notable people that you recruited?
There's a lot of notable people, and really I have to just list all of them. I mean, there's just too many to list. If it wasn't for the fans, the support, even like through my live streams and everything, it wouldn't have been possible. I mean, just the community in general has helped lead to what it was and where I am today ultimately. But if I had to name some people, I named the origins, the ones who started it. WWE Alvin is the biggest one, co-founder of the NASCAR Lowe's Cup Series. Um, Logan C44, Zack C5, 9CTS9, all the owners. And then you gotta name all the committed members and all the champions. Ryan Racer 4232, Right Racer 3N, Dustnor. Who else? The Green Dragonfly, Transformers 111, Daniel R123, Rude 456, Navy Pilot 101, Black Ops 100 Rocks, Mazda MPV, Tran-Am 79. The list goes on. I can't name everyone because there's just too many to name. Another big one would be Goku Over 9000. He was the original designer of the Lowe's logo. Fun fact. It's really everyone, the community, that has led to Lowe's legacy and its dynasty. And that's why it will always be remembered. I do look back some days and I think, wow. And not wow in a bad way. I think of it in a good way. And I don't really regret starting this, giving up part of my childhood. I could have lived like a normal childhood like life. I mean, I could have been hanging out with friends like after school every day, but instead I came home and I worked on models and scripts and building these places and helping drivers and helping people. And now that I look back at it, it's really changed who I am today and the personal traits I have. It's led to commitments. It's led to leadership positions. It's led to persistent efforts and projects that I've worked on in school, academics, organizations, clubs, sports, everything. It has all been a direct impact because of Lowe's. And really, I even got a job at Lowe's 2 summers ago. So, yeah, I mean, I do look back at it and I do like question the amount of time I spent, but at the end of the day, it's created friendships that are still around today. I still hang out with friends yearly from Roblox, and it's led to new opportunities in my life. So, yeah, I mean, it's really showed an impact on my life, and it will forever be remembered in my heart.
The reputation of the NASCAR Lowe's Cup Series was booming. The scene started to grow at an unexpected level. Everybody was starting to jump on the Lowe's bandwagon. The people they picked up was one of the first generation of Roblox racers. With their combined talents, the top division was starting to become unstoppable. Let's start off with a couple of former drivers in the NASCAR Lowe's Cup Series. Transformers 111, I think, one of the first drivers to join NASCAR Lowe's Cup Series. Right Racer 3N, also known as Code Sleep Repeat, is now a Roblox developer. Dustnor, the 2012 champion, is now an established iRacer. Train Greg, the dominance of his racing style, and 9CTS9, the man who just never forgets anything. With one of the seasons finished, 2013 came in a hurry. The driver roster and reputation of NASCAR Lowe's Cup Series was booming. New innovations were starting to be made. The series was becoming more styled. Cars were becoming iconic. The simplistic nature of the series contrasted with its aggressive racing just became what Lowe's is. Newer names started to arise as well. Tracks were becoming more complex and complicated. Drivers were becoming more technical on how they drove. The league set a solid baseline of rules. The top-notch Row Racing League took things to a whole new level, and it was just starting. The league was at the top. I spoke to a couple of former Roblox racing drivers who raced in the NASCAR Lowe's Cup Series and what they thought about it. With a really quick interview, this is what they had to say. I guess we'll just spark off the question with, how was it like racing Lowe's then?
Racing Lowe's back then was pretty fun. It was really competitive compared to other Roblox series at the time. I think it was really fun to race it.
Yeah.
Compared to like the others, and because there were so many people that just wanted to win, and made it like ultra fun, and I think that's what made it so appealing to others.
Alright, speaking of appealing, what made it different?
There were lots of nice people there, and they were all good, and I think I think that's very hard to come around. Like they were all pretty nice people. Like they weren't toxic, and they all just wanted to have a good race, and they were all like nice and fun. And I just think that wasn't around in Roblox racing. They're kind of like the first ones to not be toxic and just
Right.
have a fun time, you know.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. There were two names I picked up from the 2013 championship year. Mazdamp was one of those rising rookies, who ended up winning the Division II title. Right and Racer 3N, the now established veteran of the league, just ended up winning the Cup title. Notable names who came from the 2013 roster include Guy25, the founder of the second most popular row racing series, NASCAR Drive Down Hunger. Jimmy 467 Alt, a rising rookie who had a lot of personality. Logan C44, a particular iRacer who grew to a top-level tier driver. Zack C5, who ended up becoming the next NASCAR Lowe's Cup Series owner the following year. 2014 came around, and the announcement was made by PeaceGuy012 that this would be his final ride. The time has come to pass the torch to someone else. It was time for him to move on due to personal reasons.
My time has ended. After 4 years of hosting races, I have finally let the chains loose. Lowe's will now lose its founder, but that doesn't mean we give up. We stay strong and we fight. My goal for Lowe's.
I would imagine it would be hard to let go an established league in the hands of someone else. But life as it just does, it just moves on. 2014 would be the final year of Peace Guy 012. And oh boy, the year will be filled with chaos.
Oh no! Oh, that was gonna be! Oh! Oh! Number one! Number one does it!
Notable drivers from the year 2014, Wolf 519, now an established iRacer. Navy Pilot 101, he too is now an iRacer. And Solid Gold, the Division 2 champion. The series had so many drivers that it had to expand into 3 more other divisions, making it the largest, league-wise, anyone has ever seen. They added IndyCar, ARCA cars, and even a street stock in that order, making it Division 4 through Division 6. Even more drivers started to hop into it. That would include myself, Saber47, as one of those drivers. Dustin Orr yet again would come out as champion of Division 1 and Division 3 to no one's surprise. He obliterated the competition that year, and he was aiming to do so again, this time in a different era. As the year closed out, one last cheer would be given out to everybody on the road racing scene as the staple would gather for one last time for Peace Guy 012. Videos of the banquet could actually be found on Zack the NASCAR's channel, a veteran driver of the series. If you look back at the player list on the top right, the whole player list was stacked with all sorts of drivers, myself included. Never have I felt such overwhelming emotions that day. Unfortunately, a lot of tears shed that day, as Peace Guy 012 left the NASCAR Lowe Cup Series spotlight.
First you both go out your way and the vibe is feeling strong. And what's small turn to a friendship turn to a bond, and that bond will never be broken, the love will never get lost. And when brotherhood come first, then the line will never be crossed. Established it on our own when that line had to be drawn, and that line is what we reach.
I mentioned him earlier, Zack C5, the next owner in line. I spoke to Zack for a couple of questions regarding his ownership. Alright, Zack, say hi.
What's up?
Okay, so I'm just gonna ask you a couple of questions.
Alright, buddy, go ahead.
Alright, when you knew you were going to be the next owner of Lowe's Cup Series, what was going through your mind?
At the time,
Yeah.
I was pretty exciting. You know, it was a big series. It was bigger than my previous one. You know, like, I didn't know if I was gonna be able to handle it, but you know, we made it happen. It was
Yeah, your previous
30
series
weeks.
was Coke, right? The Coke series?
Yeah, the Coca-Cola ARCA series, yeah, for that one.
If you could remember off the top of your head about some drivers who raced during your time of ownership, who were the first people that come into mind?
Dustin, obviously, Wolf 5, Zack the NASCAR. I think Logan briefly raced in it.
Yeah.
And let me look at the list real.
I remember
We
Logan
had
racing
we
it.
had Starco Dan. Yeah, I can't think of anybody else, bro.
No worries. Alright, final question. What's the most positive, memorable thing that you remembered from when you owned NASCAR Lowe's Cup Series?
To be honest, really solidifying my friendship with some of those guys. Like, you know, obviously Chris, Michael, you, Logan. You know, I still keep in touch with a lot of the guys who, you know, raced in it on Discord and everything. And, you know, it's great to see that everybody came back to run, you know, one more time.
Yeah,
You know,
definitely.
it's incredible. A lot of people really came back. And yeah, great, honestly.
Yeah, definitely, man. Yeah, that's all the questions I had. So thanks for talking to us.
Yeah,
Zach,
buddy.
before let you go, any plug you want to do? Like anything you want us to?
Yeah, make sure you pull up to the race.
Many regarded Zack C5's ownership as poor, just because he wasn't Peace Guy 012. Many of us failed to adapt to the new environment without him. NASCAR Lowe's Cup Series changed without Peace Guy 012, and that gave the reason for all the members to act more differently. The season started off strong at Daytona as usual, but when the season started to progress, you could sense the tension and urgency in the air. Drivers and fans started to act more aggressively. Roblox started to update more frantically, and the younger audience that was now joining in was starting to choke away the values of the past. Maybe it really did go up in flames, as Peace Guy 012 said. Looking back at it now versus when it was present, Zack C5 didn't seem happy either. Every time he hosted a race, something would go severely wrong. It was horrible. It turned bad real quick. It came to the point in which, at Chicagoland, I remember, he didn't even count the points because how badly the race went. Things went so bad so quickly, a couple of members had to step in into Zack C5's place. Those were Dustner and Logan C44. They told Zack to end it, and with the current situation they were in, there was no hesitation from all three of them. The time stopped, as on that fateful day, a 1,100 member group dwindled into only a select few members. In a snap, the NASCAR Lowe's Cup Series just ended. For me personally, I was devastated. In an attempt to save the NASCAR Lowe's Cup Series, I begged for ownership before they started to purge members left and right. I remember myself standing with Zack C5 as we discussed the ongoing situation and the status of the NASCAR Lowe's Cup Series. It went along the lines of, I just can't continue this anymore. What could we take off of this, though? Well, for one, looking back at it, appreciate the dedication and hard work. Lots of hours was put into working the planning, preparation, track work, vehicles, and all other stuff. Many of us members collaborated to work with each other during the lifetime of the NASCAR Lowe's Cup Series. Everyone would guide everything around. It was very laid back as well, and loose. We would occasionally have conflicts and such, but in the end, that's just racing. It's bound to happen. For two, it brought a whole community of drivers together that we knew personally as well. Many of the drivers we knew back then are still in touch. All of us have a common liking, and that's just liking NASCAR. You could never change what NASCAR means, and you could always rely on it to hook up a huge community together. 3. NASCAR Lowe's Cup Series ending sparked a huge revelation in row racing itself and the community. Many more leagues, including my own, took note of how the NASCAR Lowe's Cup Series worked, and established baselines to make their own leagues. After NLCS, a new era of row racing emerged with rising series of NASCAR Mobile One Cup Series, NASCAR Exalta Racing Association, and many other more. Hope this video could establish the legacy of the NASCAR Lowe's Cup Series and what it left in the row racing community. Thank you for watching. Little did everybody know that there was a major pandemic in 2020. It would rupture the world as a whole, and it ruptured Lowe's as well. Back from extinction. AJ gets the push. AJ gets the push. It's all that matters about this white flag goes into 3. Then push the JJ. Oh, is that it? Is that the move for the win? Was the move too late? Tim to the inside. Can't do it. AJ wins. Alright, 10-4. Let me just end on the
Yeah, and that. Make sure you include that.
Okay.
I was waiting until the end.
Dude, the reason why I sound